Commissioner Evans is on.
Carl's on also.
Wait if you want to.
So we don't have to.
Commissioner, if we could wait just a minute or two, I think we've got two commissioners who are trying to call in right now. Can you tell us who just joined, please?
Commissioner West.
Sorry.
Charles West is here.
Thank you.
What's going on, Jason? You're muted.
Now. Good morning.
You survived the 4th of July?
Barely.
I'm just dying to use this gavel. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. The meeting of the Rules Committee, July 9th, 2021. Executive Director Lawrence, will you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Chairman Roberts.
Here.
Commissioner Evans.
Here.
Commissioner Lee.
Here.
Commissioner West.
Here.
And Commissioner White is absent. Commissioner Murray? I think he will be joining us in a moment. And Chairman Vaughn?
Here.
Madam Chairman, we have a quorum.
Give us our statement of necessity, please.
Yes, thank you. This is a specially scheduled meeting of the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission Rules Committee, which is taking place in Conference Room 1A of the Davy Crockett Tower in Nashville, Tennessee. Also utilizing, is it Teams or WebEx today? WebEx teleconference application. Notice that this meeting was properly posted to the Commission's website. Because there is not a physical quorum present, a statement of necessity is read into the record and filed with the Tennessee Secretary of State as required by statute. Pursuant to TCA 844-108B2, if a physical quorum is not present at the location of a meeting of a governing body, then in order for a quorum of members to participate by electronic or other means of communication, the governing body must make a determination that a necessity exists. That determination must include a recitation of the facts and circumstances on which it was based. Further, TCA 844-108A3 defines necessity as matters to be considered by the governing body at that meeting require timely action by the body. That physical presence by a quorum of the members is not practical within the period of time requiring action, and that participation by a quorum of the members by electronic or other means of communication is necessary. As stated, this is a specially scheduled meeting of the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Rules Committee. The purpose of this meeting with members attending by teleconference is to discuss rule changes that will be presented to the full commission at its July 2021 meeting. All voting will be conducted by roll call. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Chair. This meeting's date, time, and location have been noticed on the Tennessee Motor Vehicle Commission website. Additionally, the agenda for this month's meeting have been posted on the Tennessee Motor Vehicles website since July 6, 2021. This meeting has also been noticed on the tn.gov website.
Everybody has seen the agenda. I have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Motion to adopt by Commissioner Lee, seconded by Chairman Roberts. And I will take the roll now. Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Lee?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Vaughn?
Aye.
Votes aye. The motion to adopt the agenda has carried. Thank you.
Read my statement. We are here today to discuss proposed rule changes consisting primarily of clarification of existing rules and statutes along with cleanup necessitated by recent legislative changes. Before you, please find a document prepared by our legal counsel which outlines the proposed changes to be discussed today. Our legal counsel, Maria Bush, will introduce the proposed changes and provide additional explanation. Maria, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, thank you. And I just want to state for the record, my supervisory counsel, Tony Glandorf, is joining us virtually as well. And so we have been working on this rule. The first, can you hear me all okay? Is this mic breaking up?
Who's here?
Me,
Yeah.
but do you want to get over here?
Yeah. Coming from somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, so these rules, keeps doing it, cover changing some language in the advertising of motor vehicles, as well as license fees and the automobile auction requirements. So under advertising, there's language under 4A2 that we're listing out specifically what is not going to be included in advertising prices. It kind of takes 3 and expands on that, and we just switch the numbering. And 4, we just clarified some language there regarding consumer qualification. And then in license fees, we took out 2A through C because that is expired language, so that's just a cleanup measure. That language expired in January 2019. And in N, we clarified that the $400 fee for reinspection does apply to licensees if they're not present for reinspection. And that's just a clarification. It's not a new fee, but there can be confusion because it wasn't specified that it applied to licensees. So we're just adding that language there. And recently, the Auctioneers Commission had a statute change, and so under the automobile auction minimum requirements, we are also adding clarifying language that regarding what type of license is needed for auctions. So we just put auto auction license in 2L, and then in M, it's clarified that it's a principal auctioneer license that is needed from the Auctioneer Commission, just because their language and statutes and rules have changed and what kind of licenses they require and issue. That is why that language is there. So that's just a brief overview. Tony, I don't know if you have any comments or if any other commissioners or Denise or Jason has anything to add, but that's a sum of it.
This is Tony Glandorf. Good morning, commissioners. I apologize you cannot be with you in person. I'm otherwise disposed for the most of the day with other matters, but I wanted to be able to give you all an explanation on the price advertising rules specifically. If that would be helpful to you all, I can go down that language there because I did most of the drafting of that change along with the commission staff. Would that be helpful to you, Madam Chairman?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Absolutely. So when you look at the 4A1, the price advertising, the first sentence indicates that the advertised price of the vehicle shall include that price and all non-optional equipment and charges. So any non-optional equipment that is already placed on the vehicle or is not an option at the time of purchase must be part of that advertised price. For example, if it's a base price of $10,000 and there were $2,000 worth of non-optional equipment and charges placed on that vehicle, then that price would be $12,000. So that is the only thing that's required under this rule change to be on the actual advertised price. There are other items that could increase the price of the vehicle, and we're going to see that below in number 2, which indicates that part of that advertisement shall state, and this would be a statement, that the following are not included, which would be the cost of optional equipment purchased selected by the purchaser, which is currently the requirement in the rule now, as we know it. Plus, it must state that not included is the cost of any additional fees described under, and you can see the statute there, 114B. That is what we refer to as the doc fee generally, document preparation fee. That's what that statute indicates. And then it also says to include any dealer-imposed fee. So if there is an additional dealer-imposed fee that would come outside of the realm or the language of what we call a doc fee, a prep fee, whatever that fee is that the dealer intends to charge by any name, would have to be stated that there is an additional charge. That, again, is a statement. And the third, you see the 3 little I says state and local taxes, tags, registration, title fees. That's currently the rule now. So number 2 is it must state that the following 3 things are not included in that advertised price that I just explained up above in 1. Now, number 3 indicates that it shall separately list and describe. So number 3 is actually part of the advertisement, would require a list and a description of any additional fees that we saw under A2 Romanet 2, which is those either doc fees or any other additional fees that the dealer is assessing. So those would be known fees at the time. So it would list, for example, doc fee, $299. It may list some other fee, $199. It would have to list it and describe what it is. And then also what would have to be a part of that list, any non-optional equipment and charges under 1A. As I started out, I said if you had a $10,000 vehicle plus $2,000 worth of non-optional equipment that's already on there, then as part of that list, it would have to describe you are paying $2,000 of non-optional equipment, and this is what it is. And then and then that's where it says in a clear and conspicuous manner in 5517-114B. So that statute already indicates that a clear and conspicuous manner in the statute refers to size of font has generally be the same size of font as the rest of the advertisement as it's written there in the price advertisement. So I'll pause there because I think I gave you all maybe a visual description of what these changes would be, and I'll let you all I'll pause so if you all have any questions or if I can give you clarification on what I just went over.
Tony, this is Commissioner Lee. I have a question. I think somehow we have to have a clear definition of what non-optional equipment and charges are. I think maybe the case that started all this conversation, part of the situation in that case was they were taking the base MSRP before options and using that price as an advertisement. As I sit here thinking about it, I don't know how you would know any different if you're sitting in Nashville looking at the website to tell that car what additional equipment it has. It's the base price. Let's say the base price is $10,000 and it has a sunroof for $1,000 and $500 for a safety package, which would make it $11,500 plus freight. Let's say freight's another $500. That's $12,000. I think what was happening in the prior situation was that they were just using the $10,000 as the price to draw the people in, and then trying to upsell the options that were placed on the car at the factory. So when you've got, I understand if it's something the customer chooses additionally, like on a truck, if they add bed liner or steps or something like that, to me that's non-optional. But how, first of all, are you going to be able to enforce, John Roberts was talking about this earlier, how are you going to be able to enforce that, plus know that the pricing is from those options that came from the factory? Do you get what I'm saying? I probably confused you, because it is confusing.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think necessarily is that. I think I agree with you. Yes, in the past you would have had that vehicle with a $10,000 base price, and there was when somebody would walk in, there was no way to buy that vehicle at that price because the options were already placed on there and they were non-optional at that time. So I think the way that I visualized it is that for a new vehicle, were you specifically trying to address a new vehicle or a used
Yes.
vehicle? Because it makes a difference.
Oh,
New?
Yes. Yes, it was new.
Okay. Okay, so the new vehicle has generally does have and you all correct me if I say the fact that's not correct. But the new vehicle has an MSRP, and the MSRP is the sticker that is required on the Monroney label, and that will get you to your base MSRP price.
Okay.
And that will have the factory options already listed on it, correct?
Yes. Wrong
Okay,
label.
and then that's right. And then oftentimes next to the Monroney label, you will see a label on the vehicle that would have dealer options included on that vehicle already, and then that price would be increased from the MSRP sticker. Is that correct?
I think that's the way most legitimate people would do it, but I
Yep.
don't know that all this is done legitimately. So for those
Okay,
that
I think-
aren't,
I think in the scenario that I just brought up, that would be our rule standard. That price that you're looking at A1, that would be, if it's a new vehicle, it would start out with that price, which is the advertised price and all non-optional equipment, which would be those dealer non-optional equipments added to it. And so we know that the MSRP is on the Monroney label, and they should have next to it on the vehicle the additional items that are non-optional anymore that they've already placed on the vehicle. And then I think more importantly maybe is that when they advertise that on the internet, that that would also be the same price that's on that sticker on the vehicle, which is it would be the MSRP price plus all of the non-optional equipment and charges that comes with that vehicle would also be attached to that price as the price of the vehicle is advertised.
So does this need to be changed to say for a new vehicle the Monroney label, or the ultimate window sticker price? I mean, I think the Monroney label might be the better piece there, because I think if you don't, it's going to leave it pretty ambiguous that people are going to choose however they want. That's what they're doing now. If you want to get around the rule, to me, that of all the things we looked at here, that was the only thing that stuck out to me was if you're going to try to do it, it's not firmly said here in all non-optional equipment. I could see non-optional equipment being running boards, or if it had the sunroof, if you put a sunroof visor on it, that's a dealer installed option typically.
And you can't, right? And you can't take it off once you're not taking it off once you put it on. So it's part of that non-optional.
Good. And you can take running boards off a truck. I mean, they can come off.
I think that, so the intent of this was that it's already on the vehicle, and they intend to sell that with the vehicle, and they're advertising it as part of the vehicle package that's going to come along with it.
I understand the intent. My problem, what I'm thinking about, is the ones that are trying to get around the rule, not for the 98% that are going to do it right. It's for the 2% that aren't. I'm just afraid they may advertise it differently, because that's what's going on today in some situations. 2% of
About changing the language to something along the lines of the MSRP as reflected on the Monroney label.
That to me makes more sense.
Okay. I think we may need to, it seems like maybe we need to bifurcate the difference between, I guess maybe just the state for new vehicle pricing. And I think, sorry, I'm going to try to look at a set of rules real quick here on price
Where you
ad.
talked about discount, that's basically what you were doing, and it may need to be changed there too, because somewhere I remember reading about discount. It has to be advertised off of the, I can't remember what.
Right, from the,
Yeah. So you got it there, matter of fact, maybe that needs to say the same thing Farrah just said there a minute ago. Also, would you not agree?
Tony, this is Chairman Roberts. I'm on the same line they are. I don't want to get it too complicated with too many definitions, but I would like to clarify that when you advertise a vehicle new, that you're including all the factory options that are on it, so they can't lowball someone to come in on that lower price
Right.
and then
Absolutely.
surprise them with all these options.
Yeah, because you can't remove the sunroof.
Yeah.
well, thank you. Yeah, okay. Yes, I think, okay, so I'm going to look at this. So I'm not sure if I can get a concept of the language on that. I think while we're discussing this, so maybe it would be the shall state the advertised price, the cost of optional. Shall state the advertised price, all non-optional equipment and charges. Period. Maybe period. Maybe period. Sorry, I'm trying to lawyer while in public. Sometimes that's difficult. And then, so we had just said if I could do potentially period. I'm going to try to write down here is that, and then the next one is say for new motor vehicles, this requires the advertised price to include did we say the MSRP on the Monroney label?
As reflected on the Maroney label.
As reflected, thank you. As reflected on the Monroney label, plus any, we said manufacturer installed? No, we said dealer installed, plus any dealer installed optional equipment. Someone said it earlier, I think, very concisely, and I'm trying to repeat that. Okay, so what I just wrote down was that if you take a 4A1, it would read to the effect of shall include in the advertised price all non-optional equipment and charges, and for new motor vehicles, this requires the advertised price to include the MSRP on the MSRP as reflected on the Monroney label plus any dealer installed equipment. So what we said?
Tony,
I don't think you need that last part because I think you've got it.
In the first part.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So everything after the plus.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
What about
because it's already on.
What about for the used?
I think the used is in the first sentence that we just have. I'm not sure. You all kind of try to poke holes in it, but I think that would say that their advertised price must include any non-optional equipment because a used vehicle, obviously there's a completely negotiated price on that.
Madam
and
Chair,
there's not an MS.
if I'm the non-attorney in the group, so what I wrote down was, shall include in the advertised price all non-optional equipment and charges, period. For new motor vehicles, the advertised price must include MSRP as reflected by the Maroney label. Is that all right?
I thought I was just making sure we include all options on the used side.
I had plus, yeah, and I do think that Tony is correct. I think the first sentence actually speaks more to used vehicles than new vehicles.
Sounds good.
As I read it, do you all have a concern that the second sentence for what Denise just indicated for new motor vehicles, advertised price must include MSRP as reflected on Monroney label? Does that sound as if we're not capturing those dealer installed non-optional equipment that's in the first sentence?
Tony, I actually had plus any dealer installed equipment. I don't think it hurts to say that again.
I didn't want to be redundant, but I think, because I think it was pointed out by the group earlier, we may not need that language. Just because if I look at the first sentence, if I did a full stop and not put the plus, then I could read it to say that it shall include the advertised price, which for new vehicles would be the MSRP, all non-optional equipment and charges, and people may read that to only include the manufacturer non-optional equipment and charges, and we haven't specifically addressed the dealer. The advertised price must include MSRP as reflected on the Monroney label.
All dealer installed. I don't know how you would word that.
Including any dealer.
Installed
That's all dealer
non-optional equipment.
Non-optional equipment. I think so. I mean, I think
because you could put paint
I think
protection on there and somebody doesn't want it, and it's you can't take it off, but then
Right.
you can't charge them for it either. So yeah, that would make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
I think if we say it again, I think we're just distracting from. I don't think we're distracting from the first sentence saying it again. I think we're saying it again I think we're saying it again in context of new vehicles, meaning the non-optional equipment. Okay. So I've got for new motor vehicles, the advertised price must include the MSRP as reflected on the Monroney label, plus all dealer installed non-optional equipment.
Now, did we
I'm gonna
take the
pause to
Moroni language out of there? The reference to
No.
Moroni
No, that was just up here.
is still in there?
Yep.
Do you all think that that's a fair term to use, that people will understand that?
New car dealers certainly should.
New car dealers will.
Yep. So and then they're the ones that have to follow the letter of the law and comply.
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like that, if our whole goal is to make sure that the customer's receiving the same information from everybody, that covers it. And if they are not, then well, they get to come up here.
Well, we get to
I can,
educate the people that do our advertising
Yep.
Yeah.
as to what it all means.
You could just say the manufacturer's window sticker. That's the same language. I mean, that way even a layman who doesn't know the car business knows how to behave. I mean, you could call it the manufacturer's window sticker. That's if you want to generalize the
I
terminology.
think that kind of takes.
Moroni label does kind of strike me as car dealer lingo a little bit.
I think it needs to stay as a Moroni label, being was the FTC that's regulates that. I think it needs to be the official document.
In retrospect, I think
will-
we should do the same.
Right, and I'm going to look at that. Right, this is Tony Glandolf again, but I'm going to make sure that that's what the statute says, because I don't know if Monroney label is more of a colloquial term that there's used in the industry, and there's actually a statutory name difference for it.
It's the official
I'm going to look that
document
up.
name. It's the official document
Right.
name. I think we need to stick with that.
And just a quick reminder, while not to veer from the discussion, but for the people on the phone, if you'll make sure to identify yourselves when you speak, and I think previously that was Commissioner West
Okay, good.
who had the
tell.
suggestions.
For a moment, it sounded like it was Tony.
No, Tony chimed back in.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, this is Tony Glandolf again. So I don't think I'm gonna have adequate time right now to verify that the Monroney label is the official language under I think it's an FTC. It's a federal law on there. But I will look that up and make sure I have that included in the language of that rule, so that we like, as you all said, that we have the official terminology in there.
Thank you, because I think this rule is really for the dealers, not for the consumers as much. So I mean, it's for us to know, and you better know what a Moroni label is if you're a new car dealer.
Okay.
Were we going to, I'm sorry, this is Director Lawrence, were we going to include that language on number 5 after MSRP as reflected by the Moroni label there to make that additional change as well? Just a question.
All clear.
So if I might, what I'd like to do is say for the record that a motion was made by Commissioner Lee to adopt changes as discussed, and we'll let Tony wordsmith it, but basically something to the effect of, for new motor vehicles, the advertised price must include the MSRP as reflected by the Moroni label, plus any dealer-installed, non-optional equipment, and then we'll repeat that language on number 5. And that motion was seconded by Chairman Vaughn. And now I'd like to take the roll, if you don't mind, Madam Chair.
Sounds great.
Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Lee? Votes aye. Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Madam Chair?
Aye.
Votes aye. Madam Chair, you have, the motion is adopted. Now I think we probably need, and this is probably overkill, so I'll apologize in advance, but that was a motion to make those changes. So now, if we'll have a roll call vote, if we can get a motion and a second on adopting the rules as presented, including the changes, I would appreciate it. Oh, is there anything else? I'm sorry.
Are there any more discussion on the?
Yes, I apologize.
Yes.
I'm just moving right on along. Any other discussion on the rules?
Yes, this is Chairman Roberts. The $400 fee to be assessed, I understand that, but when someone's not there and you charge them $400 again, you know, who, I mean, this is new to me. I've not really dialed in on this fee, but what are we being charged by the field investigators, you know, to do this work? And
I believe it's a pass-through cost, and we are charged $400 by something to that effect.
okay. Well, I just know that somebody from the government ops will ask the same question.
No, you're absolutely right, and I will check on that. We did specify it would be at the request of the licensee. I think we go out twice, and this is for someone. We've had several people who repetitively just wouldn't be there and would say they would be there but not be there.
Well, I worry that we, you know, put everybody in the same box. Say someone goes there and there's a mix-up, and then you charge them again, and it may be our fault. I mean, do you have that ability to not charge them, or is it automatic?
This is actually a new section that we would be adopting. So if it's the chairman's pleasure, we can eliminate that addition. We simply charge $400 for inspection every time we go out, and this was a suggestion by staff that we assess at their request an additional $400 fee for the inspection.
What if we put in that a second visit could necessitate another fee or something to that degree? What does anybody else think?
We could say a $400 fee may be assessed per reinspection of an applicant or at the request of a licensee when reinspection is necessitated by an action or inaction of the applicant or licensee.
I like that, actually.
May.
And for each reinspection, because what if it's multiple times? I mean, if I'm hiding from you and you keep coming out to see me and I set the appointment, if it's just a one-time penalty, then
I'm okay with that
Well,
too.
it doesn't, and this gives us the discretion to charge.
Yeah, I like that.
So a $400 fee may be assessed per each reinspection.
Yes, reinspection. Yeah, attempted.
For each attempted reinspection. So I'm going to restate for the record. Chairman Roberts has proposed a change to the license fees, item number 1N, as follows. A $400 fee may be assessed per each attempted reinspection of an applicant or at the request of a licensee when reinspection is necessitated by an action or inaction of the applicant or licensee. Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Commissioner Evans.
Question, it's Commissioner Evans. So, looking at one, and where you said the $400 fee may be assessed per each attempted, changing that from a will to a may, will that affect your revenue?
You don't get this now.
You don't get it now. Okay.
We don't get it now. It does cost us money, and thank you, Chairman Roberts. I will absolutely double check on that to make sure what the inspectors charge us for each time they go out.
Okay.
So we don't get the money right now. It's just costing us money per reinspection. So, are there any other questions?
It's my motion.
Denise, this is Tony.
Yes.
I have a slight concern that was just raised about if you say that the $400 fee and then you say may be assessed per reinspection of an applicant, which is currently what we do. It does create a question mark in my mind as to what is the criteria that would be used to actually charge that fee when it's not mandatory. And so I would make this suggestion that would allow it I'm going to make a suggestion that would address Chairman Roberts' concern, but not the discretionary, is that if at the end of that sentence we could put language in there or add language that would say that such fee may be waived by the commission for extenuating circumstances.
That's true. That's
That's
like
good
that better.
too.
That kind of covers everything.
Which would address we had a miscommunication. We missed them by 10 minutes. They had an emergency. They had to take care of something. That's legitimate. But it would be commission's discretion so that, anyways, I think I tried to explain it that way so that there's not a question as to that the fee will be charged, but then they're going to have to make a request that they not be charged, and it would be up to the commission to make that decision based on extenuating circumstances.
I like that.
Tony, this is Marie for drafting purposes. So would that be period after licensee, and then this fee may be waived in the event of extenuating circumstances?
How about this, Maria? How about we do such fee may be waived at the discretion of the commission?
Okay, and I'm just probably, playing devil's advocate here, but just thinking of sending it to different offices such as the AG's for review. This question is going to be asked. So there again, what constitutes waiver? Just factors, because they're going to ask. Is there criteria we need to list, or?
This is Tony Glandorf. I agree. I think that if we say it may be waived, I would recommend that there be a criteria for waiver. Are we waiving it because I think the concern is that what if there's a miscommunication and whatnot? So I'm thinking, what is the best way we could encapsulate that in a couple words? That's just why I brought up extenuating circumstances.
Also, that language is very broad, and so I think it allows a lot of discretion and leeway for the commission to approve a waiver because extenuating circumstances, I mean, everybody views that differently, but it is still a standard, so I think it would give you all discretion and get to where we need to be.
This is Chairman Roberts. I'm okay with that language.
Director Lawrence, I'm gonna make a bold suggestion.
Okay.
I would suggest that we completely eliminate in and have further discussion about it, because it would be a new fee, that new in the sense that we have not ever charged reinspection fees. And we specified that it would be at the request of a licensee, but I think we do get into some murky water, and I think even if we do, if it's left up to the discretion of the commission, then the commission would need to imbue me with the authority to waive the fee, because you don't want me calling you every day. That is a suggestion. I think Maria may have another suggestion.
Or recapturing the fee due to the inaction or action of the licensee. But I'm not sure.
We just don't specify what the action or inaction is, I think, and I think that's sort of broad. I just don't think, I am not comfortable with charging our licensees more than we should. And I think GovOps is going to feel the same way. So I'd like to do a little more research and find out exactly what the inspectors charge us each time they go out.
Would we redline this completely, like in, or do you just want to leave it as is and not touch it?
This is Chairman Roberts. Maria, are you talking about just leaving it like it's written right now?
Let me just confirm real quick that the language that's existing right now, and then I can answer that question better for you. Okay. Thank you.
If you can,
so this is Tony Glandolf. Yeah, that language exists right now, except for the blue underlined portion.
That was my understanding. I just kind of got
right.
I was scared I was wrong for a second.
Right. I mean, the existing rule says that we can charge a $400 fee to the applicant, but this was supposed to address a licensee who knows you're coming out there to inspect and isn't there repeatedly. And again, this was at the suggestion of one of our staff members who has run into this on repeated occasions. So we already do impose a $400 fee on the applicant when we have to go out and reinspect, but we don't do that to a licensee.
This is Chairman Roberts again. I just want to make sure that we don't have an automatic $400 for the next time without, understanding our fees and cost and, figuring out whose fault it was.
Why don't I'll make this suggestion. Why don't we delay, we'll just take in out, and then between now and the time that we have the full commission meeting, we'll have something else to present to the full commission on this particular item, and they can choose to adopt or not adopt. Can I have a motion then to remove item 1N from the rule changes?
Make that motion.
Motion made by Chairman Roberts, seconded by Commissioner Evans. Commissioner Evans.
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Lee.
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Murray. Votes aye. Commissioner West.
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman Roberts.
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chairman Vaughn.
Aye.
Votes aye. The motion carries.
Madam Chairman, advertising. Not options that added to dealers.
Jason, I'm sorry, we can't hear the person that's talking.
The manufacturers take over the dealer websites and block out the pricing. So this happens a lot on luxury cars. I can tell you, I know because I have Cadillac and Acura, both of those, that the only price that can be on the website is MSRP. That's it. At Chevrolet, if I add steps, or let's say I add steps in a bedliner that's $1,500 to a pickup truck, it will not reflect on our website. So somehow our Tennessee rules need to be enforced by the manufacturers to some degree, or we got to have the manufacturers on board with meeting our rules, because that can be an issue. Probably if I sell 100 trucks a month, 98 of them are going to have steps and some sort of bedliner in them. And unless I order those directly from the manufacturer, they don't get put on that MSRP. They're put on, as Tony talked about, that side sticker on the side, but that price is not reflected because they lock out the price on the website. It's only MSRP will they allow us to put on there. Same if I have a Cadillac Escalade and I decide to put a set of custom wheels on it that are $5,000, they will not reflect on that website. It's only going to be MSRP on there. We don't have the ability in some cases to go in and make those changes.
How to include that ideas? Tony's still on there?
You may be muted.
Tony, you're muted.
Are you? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm. This is Tony Glandorf. I think some of the audio is breaking up a little bit. I wasn't sure if you all were talking to me. Well, I mean, quite honestly, it sounds to me that there's a decision for the commission members to make, which is, are you all looking to do absolute rules that the manufacturers are going to have to adjust their websites and conform with the rules of the commission, or is this a set of rules that you would want us to reach out to the manufacturers and have more of a reach out to them about how they do their websites while we're looking and reviewing these types of rural advertising?
Was there a way to include something along the lines of they must, give their best efforts to follow the Tennessee state law? I don't know how you would work that into this.
I would say this, Commissioner West, we can't be the only state dealing with this issue. I mean, I don't know if some of our peer commissions around the country, what have they done? That might be the first step to see how they've addressed it. We don't always need to be pioneers.
This is Chairman Roberts. Are we sure we have jurisdiction to require the manufacturers to fall in line?
They're licensed by the state of Tennessee.
That's true. That's true. Tony, you agree with all that?
I think the issue runs into is that I've not been asked this before, but my first impression is, to me, that website is the consumers are going to go to that website for the dealer, and they're going to see that as the dealer's website, and that's what they have advertised. And it sounds to me that the dealers are saying that they are being controlled by the manufacturer And I don't think that before in the past we've actually ever, or so I've not really thought of or contemplated that vehicles being advertised were necessarily being advertised, to consumers from the manufacturer. That's why we have those rules on the rebates. You can talk about if anybody can do a rebate, it can be a manufacturer rebate. So there's rules that have allowed manufacturers to do certain things in advertising that dealers could not do. So this is a first impression to me that we're discussing, vehicles being advertised to consumers being controlled by dealers, because it just sounds to me as if the manufacturers are saying, oh, well, this is the way it's going to be, and the dealers are the ones that we're generally looking towards to be in compliance with these rules.
Tony, this is Commissioner Vaughn. The manufacturer definitely dictates what we can and cannot do when it comes to websites. As a matter of fact, they even pick the vendors.
Right. Okay.
Ultimately, we're responsible. I mean,
right.
But it's only on the new car side. On the used car side, it's kind of a hands-off approach by them. But on the new car side, they've got basically complete control.
And actually, for a lot of manufacturers, if it's a certified vehicle, they still have control.
This is Commissioner Roberts again. Maybe this is exactly why we need to make them fall under our rules, which they're licensed to do anyway. So why don't we do that so that when they force us to do something, they have to force us to do the right thing that's in our guidelines? Is that the right answer?
Tony, you mentioned reaching out to the manufacturers, and how would you go about that?
Yeah, probably very cautiously.
Well, I mean, when they sign the paperwork to become a distributor for the state, are they not acknowledging that they know and understand the laws of the state of Tennessee and they're abiding by them? I mean, they've already said they would. I think there's a nice way to encourage it.
I think that, yes. I mean, I think that I would obviously, I mean, normally I would look out for suggestions as to who would the commission members know that would be on the manufacturer side in the know of advertising, that we could reach out to them to talk about, an example of one that does it this way, and talk to them about, specifically is each state the same, or do they do advertising differently in states, and how would this potential rule, how would that impact them on the way that they advertise? More specifically, we're talking about online advertisements. That's how I would go about it. Probably try to get a dialogue, really, to get a more of a shared understanding of their point of view when it comes to the price advertisement, such as why do you do the MSRP, not including other non-optional equipment that's on there?
Or dealer installed equipment, something along those.
Right, and then dealer installed equipment.
You have two members of the manufacturers on the commission. Could we not have make that our first point of contact, because that's representing, I think, Nissan and Volkswagen in the state?
Nissan doesn't have we don't have a commission member right now.
No.
We did. We had Commissioner Tommaso, but they haven't filled that position yet. So we have GMs and Volkswagen. Just Volkswagen. Okay. Just Volkswagen.
Brought up a point there too, Tony. It's a big point of contention. Where I'm located, I'm right across the street from the state of Virginia, and about 40 miles from the state of North Carolina, and their advertising laws are completely different than ours. In North Carolina, they don't have to advertise freight. There's a lot of things that we battle in that same situation, and I think some of what they were trying to do when they went to this MSRP, I think, was locking it in a lot of cases, was trying to, in that MSRP, Maroney freight's in there. So I think they were trying to work to get those prices fairly well set across the country, at least to that point. But the discounting that goes on and the way they advertise rebates and incentives are, I mean, they're totally different. We face it every single day. Virginia not as bad as North Carolina, but North Carolina is just, and I think from what I understand, Georgia may be the same way for those that border down around Chattanooga, has quite a difference also.
Commissioner West and Tony, I think I like your idea of at least starting a little dialogue and maybe reporting back, and that may be the path we take.
Yeah, I mean, this is Tony Glenn. I mean, the idea of kind of starting with our manufacturer commission members. I think that's an excellent idea where we already have a relationship with those points of contact there. I guess during this discussion, I was also reviewing our current rules that we have on price advertising, and to the extent that we do have a rule that the MSRP of a new vehicle is required to include all charges other than equipment, except for destination charges, sales taxes must be specifically excluded. So to the discussion we just had about what other states do as opposed to us, it did start to dawn on me that we have that specific rule of what the suggested retail price would include and then exclude. So, I mean, to the question earlier, yes, we do regulate the suggested retail price that's advertised by a manufacturer. We already have that currently in rule. So we have been doing that. I don't think we've had an issue with that in the past. So I think that would be part of that discussion. And I apologize, it's probably not on the document in front of you, but it's 4B, and we're amending 4A, which is general pricing. So that would be, I think that would be part of the discussion in the future that we just have not addressed here. What we prepared to you has not addressed that. What we prepared for you. So. But this is Tony Glenn again. We can absolutely have that conversation if you would like us to do that with the manufacturers. We will reach out and those point of contacts and do that. I think at this point, I would just need some guidance or direction as to how the committee feels.
Tony, this is Chairman Roberts. Are we basically saying we're going to adopt everything we've got here, but in the meantime, we're going to find a way to have dialogue with the manufacturers for their end of it? Is that correct? We're not going to just stop where we are.
No.
Okay.
No, sorry. This is Tony Glenn with Chairman Roberts. No, I think the idea was is to some of the other stuff. Hey, to the idea that I don't know if I forget the members saying that we can't control our website. That's controlled by the manufacturer. I think we can start to look at and to address that this way. But I don't think there's an issue with the committee moving forward to adopt certain language, because that just gets us past one step of a series of multiple steps for the rulemaking process. which would be a final adoption later at some point in time.
Tony, thank you for that. And I'm good with everything we've talked about here today. The only thing I would suggest maybe is that we could start that conversation and maybe report back to us at our board meeting at the end of July as the contacts you've made and how that's going. Just an up-to-date report.
Right. Maybe it's even worth, having, especially if you have a certain manufacturer that has issues with it, having a little support from the commission as a dealer.
Yeah.
That might be worth discussion also.
This is Chairman Roberts. I'm good with most of what we've got here. I think it is good, and I think we can move forward with it. But I want to still reiterate that it's important that we have a uniform enforcement across the state once we get all of this put together.
Yes, sir. This is Tony Glandorf. Yes, I understand that, and I can reach out to them, start to make contacts with the manufacturers, those representatives that can talk about advertising and give you all an update of where we're at the next meeting.
Is everyone okay with the automobile auction minimum requirements?
I don't see any issue. Any question? Everybody?
And just to clarify as well, everyone okay with deleting that section, those two sections that are not
They've
in
already
effect
expired.
anyway?
Right. Yes.
Okay. Then I will need a motion to adopt the rules as amended. On advertising, I'm not going to restate that. I think everyone understands. And under the $400 fee, we're going to take out. We're not going to change that sentence. We're going to let it stand as is. We're just going to take out the application to licensee as of right now until we get some additional information. Okay. And then adopt the deletion of that item and the changes in the Auctioneers Commission. If I can have a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is to adopt the rules as amended. Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Lee?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Murray?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Chair Vaughn?
Aye.
Votes aye. I think that completes our business, Madam Chair, unless you have other items for discussion.
Old business? Have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Lee, seconded by Commissioner Murray. Commissioner Evans?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Lee?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner Murray?
Aye.
Votes aye. Commissioner West?
Aye.
Votes aye. Chairman Roberts?
Aye.
Votes aye. And Madam Chair Vaughn?
Aye.
Votes aye. We are adjourned.
Bye, everybody. Have a good weekend.
Thank you all.
Take care. Thank you.
Thanks for using WebEx. Visit our website at www.webex.com.
Enough to where I'm like.
Here?
Yeah, of course.
Very far.
Yeah, we moved out
Okay, I'm sorry, but where's the baby?
Yeah.
We're happy to see you, but we
gotta
really
see
want to see the baby.
pictures.
Oh, my goodness. First things first.
Yeah, not to be mean, but.